The movie is set in a small, ancient country where extreme poverty is the norm, as money and food are scarce and extremely hard to come by. Due to the state's unlivable crisis, a mischief of rats make their way to the dump grounds of a magic institution and devour all the litter they can find. Among these are several magic items, including spellbooks, potions, and powders. Being exposed to these supernatural objects, the rodents soon develop a heightened sense of intelligence, prompting them to become sentient beings. After leaving the magic dump ground, the now intelligent rats join forces with a human boy named Keith and a genius cat called Maurice. Together, they form an unlikely group of con artists as they unite to earn money for their survival. Every week, the con artists head to a new town and fake a rodent epidemic. In line with their coordinate plan, the cunning rats infiltrate a village and cause chaos amongst the townspeople. After the rodent infiltration, Maurice arrives at the village and offers the services of Keith, who he refers to as the Rat Tamer. The devious cat craftily lies to the desperate townspeople and eventually convinces them that Keith has the power to control rats with the sound of music. Believing his lies, the gullible villagers offer Maurice several silver coins to procure the Rat Tamer's services. Once this is done, Keith arrives at the scene and blows his flute as the rats, who are part of the plan, waddle toward him as they exit the village. Putting on a convincing show, the acting rats head to a nearby river and fall in it as they pretend to drown. Seeing this, the villagers erupt in applause as Maurice and Keith quietly exit the town and reunite with the rats on the other end of the river. Minutes later, the con group reassembles and congratulates each other for a job well done, after which they head to their next target town called Bad Blitz. Like its surrounding villages, the city of Bad Blitz is very modern with well-constructed houses and roads. However, despite this advanced infrastructure, its citizens live in less than ideal conditions as the town is plagued with terrible famine. In recent years, Bad Blitz has experienced an unexplained spike in food theft cases. All over the city, people complain of their meals being stolen by an unseen animal. Over time, the cases only got more frequent until 90% of the town's food reserves are stolen, thus leading to a grave famine. Naturally, the people of Bad Blitz suspect the famine to be caused by a rat epidemic, so the mayor hires a group of rodent exterminators. Within weeks, the town is rid of its rats, but this does nothing to reduce the food theft cases. Days later, the con group arrives at the city and splits into groups. The rats race around the city sewers as they search for ways to cause chaos, while Maurice and Keith explore the city for food, which ultimately leads them to the mayor's house. There, the duo runs into a young girl named Alicia, who turns out to be the mayor's daughter. After conversing, Alicia tells the con artists about the strange food theft cases in the city and proposes they join forces to solve the puzzling mystery. Having nothing better to do, Maurice and Keith decide to help her as they head for the rat exterminator's office to investigate. On reaching there, a resourceful Alicia picks the door lock and breaks in as the trio quickly looks for clues. Luckily, they don't have to search long, as Alicia finds a lever that opens up a trap door leading to an underground cellar. Curious, they explore the hidden chambers and soon discover a room filled with all the town's missing food. Seeing this, the hungry bunch instantly rush to the stolen food and have a few bites, while they try to unravel the food theft mystery. Moments later, the group gets interrupted when one of the rats named Peaches finds them in the cellar. Anxious, the lone rodent informs them that a fellow rat had been captured by a trap in the sewers. However, before Peaches can complete her explanation, the other rats arrive in Darktan, the trapped rodent who also happens to be their leader. Luckily, Alicia figures out a way to disarm the trap and ultimately frees Darktan. Sadly, right as the group reunites, the rat exterminators return to the cellar and catch them red-handed. Wasting no time, the criminals immediately attack and capture all the rats and humans while Maurice manages to escape. Choosing not to kill them, the exterminators tie up Keith and Alicia in the food pantry, while all the rats, except one named Sardines, are kept in cages. Not long after the criminals kidnap the bunch, Maurice arrives and helps free the rats from their cages. Now loose, Maurice and the rats split up as some head to the pantry to rescue the humans, while the others begin their search for Sardines. Fortunately, Maurice and the rats have no trouble finding Keith and Alicia, as they easily free the captured duo. Together, the group leaves the pantry, but not before lacing some of the exterminators' food with laxatives. When the unsuspecting criminals return, they go on to greedily devour their food, but soon notice a weird rumbling in their stomachs. Seconds later, Keith and Alicia appear and question the exterminators about the food theft cases. At first, the criminals refuse to reveal their secrets and choose to remain tight-lipped. However, their stubbornness is short-lived as a witty Keith reveals their food was poisoned and offers to give them the antidote if they confess. With their stomachs brutally rumbling, the exterminators eventually succumb to their demands and finally tell the truth. It turns out that the duo had captured lots of rats, and this led to the rodents combining to form a mutant creature known as the Rat King. This monstrous beast happens to be extremely dangerous as it is an intelligent being with the ability to control the minds of rats. Hearing this, the group finally tests the exterminators, where they kept the antidote and swiftly races to find a way to stop the Rat King. Milicia, who's an avid reader, reveals that the only thing that could stop the monstrous creature is a magical pipe that has the ability to control animals. This enchanted object is however hard to come by, as its owner is hidden in the heart of a dark forest. Despite the danger of finding this magical pipe, Keith and Milicia bravely embark on a mission to search for it. Together, the duo explores the dark woods and pass a series of obstacles as they approach their destination. After several hours of journeying, the persistent teens finally find the magical pipe. Upon inspection, they discover that the enchanted object belongs to a strange man named Mr. Piper, who uses the item to lure and capture animals. Erring on the side of caution, the duo patiently waits and observes the man as he returns to his house and falls asleep. Without hesitation, the teens immediately seize the golden opportunity and break into Mr. Piper's home. There, Keith finds the pipe clutched in the sleeping man's arms and gently retrieves it from him. Sadly, as soon as the young boy turns his back on Mr. Piper, the man wakes up and knocks him out with a jug. Minutes later, Keith wakes up and finds Milicia desperately trying to get the strange man to surrender the magical object. However, before Keith can wrap his head around the current events, Piper whips out the musical instrument and blows it. Right then, we discover that the magical pipe can not only control animals, but humans too, as the duo gets possessed by the sound and follows Piper's instructions. Using the musical instrument, the evil man controls the teens and leads them to a scorching oven. Fortunately, right before the duo is led to their death, a strange object goes through Piper's clothes, causing him to stop blowing. As the moving gadget emerges from his pants, we discover that it's an automated rat toy that Milicia had secretly sneaked into his clothes. The gadget greatly startles Piper, prompting the evil man to jump into the oven as his clothes are set on fire. Going up in flames, the villain swiftly races out of the oven and jumps into a nearby well while the teen duo retrieves the magic pipe. Meanwhile, the rodents from earlier finally make progress as they find sardines in an underground ring. Here, rats are placed in fighting pits with dogs for the entertainment of humans. Moments later, Sardines is also placed into the ring and helplessly quivers as a rabid dog prepares itself to devour the tiny creature. Luckily, before the dog is released, the other rats arrive at the scene and quickly devise a plan to get Sardines out. A buff Darktan jumps into the ring and distracts the dog while the other rodents save their entrapped colleague. Once Sardines has been retrieved, Darktan jumps out of the pit and escapes as the spectating humans futilely try to capture him. After breaking free, Darktan reunites with the other rats and Maurice as they collectively try to run from the city. Sadly, the group doesn't get far as they run into the Rat King on their way. The mutant creature immediately uses his telepathic abilities and controls the rats to come toward him. Not able to control their bodies, all the rats except one named Beans get pulled to the telepathic monster. Seeing the rats in danger, Maurice swiftly leaves the scene and heads to the dark forest in search of Keith and Milicia. Fortunately, he quickly runs into the duo and informs them of the Rat King's emergence. Wasting no time, the trio instantly races to the scene as they prepare to take down the Rat King. On getting there, Keith plays the pipe to control the mutant creature, but for some reason, the magical instrument doesn't quite work on it. Unfazed, the Rat King seizes Keith and tosses him aside as he continues pulling the rat towards him. Minutes later, all the rats beside Beans are sucked into the mutant creature. Noticing that his telepathic abilities do not work on him, the Rat King seizes Beans and tries squeezing him to death. Luckily, Keith intervenes and plays the pipe yet again. This time, he specifically focuses on playing a sweet melody rather than a bunch of notes. The approach change proves to be effective as the mutant's body is affected and evaporates, thus releasing all its entrapped rats. Though achieving this, the fight is far from over, as the Rat King's heart survives the attack. Right then, we discover that the mutant's core is composed of a small group of rats, who are immune to the pipe's music. These rodents instantly release a widespread spell in the area which causes everyone except Beans to freeze in time. The group invites the resistant rat to join them, but Beans turns down their invitation and vows never to be a part of the group. Hearing this, the Rat King casts a spell on Beans, which gravely injures him. A frozen Maurice is devastated on seeing his wounded colleague and feels a surge of anger boiling in him. This heated emotion causes the cat to break the spell and attack the mutant creature. Scared, the Rat King tries to ward Maurice off with her powers, but the resilient cat resists their attacks and pushes through as he claws at the rats and eventually bites off their core, thus killing the mutant once and for all. The attack causes a huge energy blast which injures Maurice and sends him to the border between life and death. There, the cat sees Bean's body and spots the Grim Reaper trying to take the rodent to the afterlife. Being a cat, Maurice has 9 lives, volunteers to offer 2 of his in exchange for Beans. Impressed by the generous proposition, the Grim Reaper accepts the offer and sends both of them back to the world of the living. Seconds later, the duo wakes up as their friends heave a sigh of relief. In the closing scene, the city of Bad Blitz finally recovers from the famine with the rats and humans coexisting in peace and harmony. And that's a wrap for this animation recap. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on the notification, and leave a like and comment. Thank you.